So police stations like this one here in Port-au-Prince are main targets for gangs. They feel like as soon as they can get hold of a station like this, they can then take siege and take control of much of the community. And they've tried coming after this one many of times. Reinforcements have been built up not only because of the police, but because of the community. They've built barricades all around here. For the police station to function properly, they need to rely on the community and to have these almost vigilantes building a lot of the barricades to keep out any gang members. This is not only the police station though, it's also become a home to the police officers, including the commander and their families. Because for the commander, he says his own home was taken over by gangs, his family forced out, but he stays on the job and now lives the job. So this was a school here in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, and every single classroom that we pass, like this one here, has now become a dorm room, essentially. There are dozens, if not hundreds of people who have made this a recent campsite. And you can see a lot of them are following us around and are curious with what we're doing, because for them it's a distraction, really. And you talk to a lot of these folks, and they've come here in the past couple of weeks because of the most recent surge in violence and gangs taking more and more territory here in this city. But these folks have also been on the run from their own homes for months, if not years. She just got this small bag of rice and she's going to cook it up for 7 people. And a lot of them tell me they don't know where their next meal is going to be. One little girl, 8 years old, saying she goes to bed every single night hungry. And a lot of that is because in the past 2 weeks in particular, supply lines, especially for programs of international aid like the World Food Program, have been severed. So while those organizations are trying desperately to get food in, it's not just about getting them into Port-au-Prince, it's then about getting them into communities like this. The challenges logistically are immense. They're dealing with this at a level that they have not faced prior. I mean, it's unprecedented. And the pain, you sense it in the kids' eyes and their parents who feel helpless at this point. But for them, it's about pushing forward. I asked one woman how you get up every day and move ahead. She said with the grace of God, but then admitted in the same breath that sometimes they feel they'd be better off dead than living. David Culver, CNN, Port-au-Prince, Haiti.
We begin tonight with Haiti and CNN's David Culver, who has been trying for days to get into the country and has just now arrived. The country is in chaos, with Prime Minister stepping down, gangs now controlling the streets, and ordinary Haitians, millions of whom are going hungry, trying to survive. CNN is the first major news network to make it into Port-au-Prince since this latest outbreak of violence. David Culver joins us now from there. What is the situation like on the ground?
Hey there, Anderson. Yeah, we landed about 3 hours ago. It's tense, but there's also this eerie quiet that you feel as you're making your way through the streets. And we were only driving for about 10 minutes or so. And compared to when we were here 3 weeks ago, I expected to see at least some livelihood out on the street, some activity. There were no street vendors. Folks were hurrying along. And one local Haitian told me it's because we were getting close to curfew, 6 o'clock. And you run the risk, if you are out after curfew, not to be ticketed or cited or anything, but rather potentially to have police open fire on you. I mean, that just tells you the type of situation that this city is dealing with, and really this country has found itself in. It is a crisis that they have not faced in years. It is unprecedented for many aspects of the city in particular. And then when you look at some of the most difficult aspects, you're talking about food insecurity and health care. So if you break down the health care, it's 80%, according to one local hospital executive, of hospitals in the city that are shuttered. And many of them have been ransacked, they've been looted. Some of the medical workers themselves have been targeted by gang members, so they're living in fear. And then the food insecurity is a growing concern. You have officials who are saying that you've got about 1 million people who are a step away from famine. Why is that? Well, we experienced it just in the logistics of trying to get to where we are now. And that is, you've got roadways that are blocked by gang activity depending on the hour. You have to reroute and figure out another way around. It just shows you how quickly evolving this situation is, Anderson. And you've even got communities that have started to barricade themselves even more so than we saw 3 weeks ago, and have created essentially self-defense brigades, according to locals, and are carrying guns more than I've seen on the streets here, certainly from the last visit, just to make sure that the gangs don't get any closer and try to take over territory.
So, I mean, who is in control in Port-au-Prince, in the capital?
Yeah, right now it does feel like there are almost factions within the city, if you will. I mean, it feels like there are aspects that have contained themselves and basically protected their own communities, if you will, not only physically and putting up a defense, but also just kind of operating on their own, neighbors looking out for neighbors, if you will. And outside of that, there are some aspects that are able to continue just with some of the the standard government and police protection, but then, you can hear it on and off at times. You'll have moments where gunfire will just erupt, and it shows you that, these are times that are just totally unpredictable. And so for that reason, you've got people who are sealing themselves in their homes and who haven't left in the past couple of weeks.
How difficult was it to get into the country?
Yeah, I mean, this was a huge challenge. And the logistics of 6 days waiting out in the Dominican Republic, trying to go through a lot of bureaucratic red tape at times, of course, but that just shows you, what the Dominican Republic and Haiti officials were trying to navigate to so as to get the foreign media in. Now, we happen to be the first ones to get into Port-au-Prince, which is significant, especially after 6 days of trying over land crossings, then trying to book certain helicopters to make our way in. And we finally were able to land about 3 hours ago, and this is just a sampling of our trip.
We're gonna be flying to Haiti. It's gonna take us 1 hour to get there.
The logistics of this trip alone have been incredibly challenging, to say the least. They're confirming with us something that we've been working on the entire day, and that is the landing zone, trying to figure out where we'll touch down amidst a very dire situation in Port-au-Prince. Gunshots. Did you hear that? There it is. Already hearing gunshots just a few seconds into stepping out of the car after arriving here at Port-au-Prince. And so that shows you the logistics of trying to get here. And again, 6 days to make that one helicopter ride. And as soon as it lands, a lot of the folks who are expats trying to get out are, of course, looking to board some of these helicopters and make their way back to the Dominican Republic. But those are the fortunate few, Anderson. Of course, you've got many Haitians here who they don't have that option to leave. And as far as a foreign presence in international aid, I mean, the UN has tried to set up an air bridge, but right now it doesn't seem like that's in effect. And so you've got a city that's essentially cut off from anything that would allow it to stay alive at this point, including food. 90% of the food that comes into this country is imported. So, that tells you just how significant any sort of supply chain that's cut off. If you think about, the vast majority of what's consumed here has to come in from elsewhere, and supply lines are just totally blocked. It's making it near a extremely dire situation.
Vecinos protegiendo a vecinos. En eso se ha convertido esencialmente Puerto Príncipe solo para sobrevivir. Y esta es una comunidad en la que estamos que se siente bastante segura. Y eso es solo porque en varias calles hay un perímetro tras otro establecido por la comunidad y en colaboración con la policía. Entonces la policía esencialmente permite que la comunidad haga lo que sea necesario para establecer estos bloques en las entradas y salidas. Y en la comunidad, a su vez, ayuda a empoderar a la policía para que luego puedan realizar sus patrullas. Pero para muchos de ellos se trata de establecerlos para bloquear lo que no está lejos de aquí y lo que es un territorio de pandillas en expansión. Un territorio que ha estado tratando de invadir esta comunidad, en particular muchas veces durante el último año. Y llegó a un punto en el que, según los comandantes de la policía, los miembros de la comunidad tuvieron que tomar la justicia por su propia mano. Y pudieron detener a 14 presuntos pandilleros, y luego mataron a esos pandilleros justo en medio de la calle. Fue una exhibición pública, pero para ellos se hizo para enviar un mensaje a otros pandilleros, para que se mantuvieran alejados de su comunidad. Esto no ha impedido que las pandillas intenten avanzar cada vez más, pero la gente que vive aquí dice que la vida cotidiana se ha vuelto cada vez más difícil. Vemos algunos vendedores ambulantes, pero no muchos. Estuvimos aquí hace 3 semanas. Muchas de las aceras estaban llenas de vendedores ambulantes. La gente ahora simplemente no tiene cosas que vender. Y por eso ha intentado asegurar lo mejor posible, utilizando la ayuda de la policía. algunas de las líneas de suministros que intentan llevar agua y alimentos a áreas como esta. Pregunté a algunos miembros de la comunidad, ¿cómo es posible que puedan mantenerse a flote? Y respondieron, confiamos unos en otros. Básicamente hacen que algunos de estos miembros de la comunidad vayan de puerta en puerta recogiendo comida, tal vez algo de dinero, algo de agua. Y eso proporciona cierto sustento para las personas que protegen estas comunidades. Si preguntas quién manda, miran a su alrededor y dicen que nadie. Por eso, han tomado el asunto por sus propias manos. Si preguntas qué necesitas, qué puede ayudar a Haití en este momento, lo primero que la mayoría de la gente nos ha dicho es que la comunidad internacional no intervenga como lo ha hecho en el pasado. En cambio, quieren ayuda en forma de asistencia. Pero también dicen que necesitan algún tipo de respaldo de seguridad. Realmente no se expresaron. La gente realmente no quiso entrar en demasiados detalles al tratar de explicar en qué forma podría venir esa seguridad adicional. Pero para la mayoría aquí, se trata simplemente de tratar de descubrir cómo llegar a mañana y saber que esta noche podría traer otra ronda de violencia. David Culver, CNN, Puerto Príncipe, Haití.
El gobernador Ron DeSantis anunció el viernes que está impulsando la aplicación de la ley en Florida, aumentando el número de agentes y oficiales. El objetivo es ayudar a autoridades federales a enfrentar un posible aumento en el número de migrantes que intentan llegar a Estados Unidos a través de Florida a medida de que los disturbios continúan agravándose en Haití. DeSantis dijo que está reforzando agencias como el Departamento Estatal de Seguridad de Florida, así como el de Pesca y Vida Silvestre. Según el gobernador, como parte de su iniciativa, la Guardia Nacional contará con 48 miembros más. La Guardia Estatal de Florida tendrá otros 133 soldados y la Patrulla de Caminos de Florida tendrá 30 oficiales adicionales, además de equipos y aeronaves como 4 helicópteros más que serán utilizados por la Guardia Nacional. DeSantis se refirió específicamente a la crisis en Haití y la posibilidad de que una nueva ola de migrantes de la nación caribeña intente llegar a Florida en barco. Esto es parte de lo que dijo.
Lo que hemos decidido hacer, dada la situación que está ocurriendo en Haití, hay algunos informes brutales sobre lo que está ocurriendo. Queremos asegurarnos de que estamos protegiendo a los floridianos y por eso hemos autorizado agentes adicionales en las agencias pertinentes, tales como el Departamento de Seguridad Estatal y el de Pesca y Vida Silvestre de Florida.
También el viernes, DeSantis promulgó 3 nuevos proyectos de ley que incluyen uno que aumenta la pena máxima para las personas que conducen ilegalmente sin licencia, otro que aumenta las penas por un delito cometido por un individuo que regresa al país tras ser deportado. El tercero dice que Florida no reconocerá las identificaciones emitidas a inmigrantes indocumentados en otros lugares. DeSantis también dijo que desde que declaró el estado de emergencia por la entrada de inmigrantes en enero de 2023, las agencias policiales de Florida han interceptado 670 embarcaciones que transportaban a más de 13.500 inmigrantes indocumentados. DeSantis criticó una vez más al gobierno federal por no hacer lo suficiente, dijo, para asegurar la frontera, diciendo también que los estados han tenido que valerse por sí mismos. El mes pasado, la Casa Blanca culpó a los republicanos de la Cámara de Representantes por rechazar un proyecto de ley bipartidista que, según dijo, contenía, y cito, las reformas más duras y justas para asegurar la frontera en décadas. Rafael Romo, CNN, Atlanta.